Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we are traveling way, way back, like 50,000 years back, to figure out the surprising origins of human connection. I mean, imagine living in a time way before cities, before writing, before recorded history even existed. We're going to take a super close look at something we pretty much take for granted every single day, friendship, and literally trace it back to its absolute roots.
Just think about how we build friendships right now compared to the brutal, everyday fight for survival our ancestors were dealing with. These days, our connections are all about, schools, social media, group chats, maybe the occasional best friend bracelet. But back in the Stone Age, absolutely none of that existed. Every single day was just a literal fight to stay alive. You hunted together, you slept around the exact same fire, and you were facing down terrifying predators that could end the whole shebang in seconds.
Which naturally brings us to a really fascinating question. In a world that incredibly dangerous, did early humans actually have best friends? Or was everyone just kind of out for themselves, trying to survive this harsh reality completely solo? Well, the answer reveals something pretty incredible about human nature.
So there's this massive myth out there that ancient humans were just these lonely wanderers, right? Braving the frozen tundra all by themselves. But the reality, it paints a totally different picture. Humans have actually always been highly social creatures. Our ancestors definitely weren't wandering around alone. They were strictly 100% dependent on teamwork.
In fact, our ancestors lived in these super tightly knit groups, usually ranging anywhere from 20 to 150 people. And that number is absolutely crucial. To put it into perspective, it wasn't some massive metropolis, but it definitely wasn't just a solitary family unit either. It was this perfectly sized community where you literally knew everyone, and every single person played a vital, indispensable role in keeping the group alive.
Because, let's be real, working together wasn't just some nice option. Survival strictly depended on dividing up these really critical tasks. Picture it in your head, like a lone little stick figure trying to take down a massive prehistoric animal all on their own. It just wouldn't work. One person couldn't stay awake 24/7 to watch for predators, and they definitely couldn't protect the kids every single minute of the day. Teamwork was literally mandatory.
But here's where it gets interesting. Even within these close-knit groups of up to 150 people, it was exactly like it is today. Not all relationships were created equal. You know how it is. Certain folks just naturally spent more time together and formed much deeper levels of trust. Not everyone was equally close. Some people just naturally gravitated toward each other, shared more of the heavy lifting, and really trusted one another. Those specific bonds, they were very likely the earliest versions of what you and I would call best friends.
Imagine for a second you're out tracking a giant deer, and suddenly, bam, you slip and severely injure your leg. If you're out there alone, honestly, game over. You probably won't survive. But having a trusted companion right by your side, that was an absolute lifeline. That friend is the one who helps you hobble back to camp, shares their food with you while you're laid up recovering, and guards you from danger when you are at your absolute most vulnerable.
So really, strong bonds were essentially prehistoric life insurance. Friendship wasn't just this warm, emotional feeling, it could literally save your life. Modern scientists studying hunter-gatherer societies have seen this firsthand. People rely heavily on their trusted companions for sharing food, watching the kids, and basic protection. The stronger your friendships were, the better your chances of surviving the really bad times. Having someone who always had your back was, hands down, the greatest advantage you could possibly have.
But wait, without, modern schools or offices or coffee shops, how did they actually make these friends? Well, they forged them through intense, shared experiences. The kids probably played together in the dirt around the camp. Teenagers learned how to hunt and make tools side by side. Adults spent all day gathering food, building shelters, and trekking long distances together. And most importantly, surviving terrifying, life-threatening danger together creates incredibly powerful bonds. I mean, you were never going to forget the person who saved you from a saber-toothed cat, right? Over time, those wild, shared adventures turned ordinary companions into absolute lifelong friends.
Now, it is so easy to picture prehistoric humans as just being stressed out 24/7, right? Always on high alert. But life wasn't just serious survival and constant danger. They actually built lifelong bonds through pure joy and play. Humans laugh, we tease each other, we tell stories and play ridiculous games, and scientists think these behaviors are deeply, deeply ancient. After a big successful hunt, you can totally imagine people gathering around the fire to swap stories, copy funny animal sounds, dance, sing, just laugh together. Those early campfires probably echoed with just as much laughter as our living rooms do today.
Still, we really can't ignore the harsh, everyday realities of the Stone Age. Because despite all that joy around the fire, life was incredibly fragile.
A sudden illness could strike a camp out of nowhere, just sweeping right through the community. And remember, there was absolutely zero modern medicine to stop it.
Plus, danger and severe physical trauma were always literally just one misstep away. Just a simple accident, like a broken bone from a bad fall or even a deep cut from a flint tool, could easily be a death sentence in a world where infection was this constant, lurking threat. And the elements themselves? Incredibly unforgiving. Surviving those brutal, freezing winters required extreme resilience. It meant you had to rely entirely on the collective body heat, the stored food, and the pooled resources of your trusted group just to hold out until spring.
And of course, let's not forget the predators. Lethal threats from massive, hungry animals were constant presence. Because of this incredibly harsh reality, these ancient people frequently lost the ones they cared about the most. Death was just this ever-present shadow hanging over the Stone Age.
And because of those constant losses, archaeologists have actually found evidence of careful, intentional burials. This is huge because it proves our ancestors felt profound grief and formed really deep emotional connections. Losing a close companion caused real, visceral pain. Now, we obviously can't know the exact thoughts going through their heads, but the emotions of love, sadness, and friendship, those are hardwired right into our biology. Our ancestors almost certainly mourned their closest companions in a way that looks a whole lot like how we mourn today.
So, bringing it all back, did ancient humans have best friends? Yeah, almost certainly. Sure, they didn't send text messages or take selfies together, but they trusted each other, they protected each other, they laughed together, and they survived together. Long before cities, before writing, before history itself, having someone sitting beside that fire who you trusted more than anyone else in the world was humanity's ultimate survival tool. Honestly, in a lot of ways, friendship is the very reason our species managed to endure.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. If friendship truly is our oldest survival tool, who is the person you'd most want by your side if you were suddenly dropped right back into the Stone Age? Who is your very first, ultimate best friend? Think about the companions in your life right now who would help you hobble back to camp and protect you when things get dangerous. Anyway, thank you so much for exploring our prehistoric past with me today. Keep learning, keep asking those big questions, and I'll catch you next time.